Imagine discovering that the person you love and trust the most is betraying you. But not just with anyone, rather with someone who should be by your side, supporting and protecting you. How do you cope with the pain of being betrayed by your own husband and your mother? Is it possible to forgive such a cruel betrayal? This shocking and twist-filled story will make you question the limits of trust and love. Have you ever experienced a betrayal that shattered your heart into 1,000 pieces? Yumi always believed that her life was perfect. Married for 5 years to Miho, a caring and dedicated man, she felt fulfilled both at work and in love. They lived in Seoul, in a cozy apartment that reflected their joint effort to build a comfortable life. The couple shared plans for the future, including the long-awaited trip to Jeju Island, where they planned to renew their wedding vows. Yumi's mother, Suk, had always been a strong presence in the couple's life. Since Yumi's father's death, Suk had devoted herself entirely to her daughter, helping with every detail of the marriage and becoming an almost maternal figure for Miho. Yumi took pride in the harmonious relationship between the two and felt lucky to have a united family. One day, while organizing some boxes in the apartment storage, Yumi found an old envelope with her mother's handwriting. Curious, she opened the yellowed paper and came across a letter. As she read the first lines, she felt her heart stop. It was a love letter. And the recipient was Miho. Confused and in shock, Yumi began to look for other clues. She rummaged through drawers, folders, and cabinets. She found exchanged notes, hidden gifts, and even a necklace she had recently seen her mother wearing. Doubt gnawed at her mind. How could this be happening right under her own roof? Overwhelmed by pain and disbelief, Yumi decided to confront Miho. That night, when he arrived from work, she held back her tears and tried to act naturally. During dinner, she observed his every gesture, looking for signs that might confirm her suspicion. However, Miho seemed the same as always. Attentive, concerned, and affectionate. Before going to bed, Yumi couldn't hold back and casually asked if he had spoken to her mother recently. Miho, unaware of the intention behind the question, replied that Suk had called the previous day to ask if he needed anything from the market. Yumi swallowed her anger and remained silent. She needed concrete proof before any confrontation. The next day, she decided to take the day off work to follow her mother. She saw Suk leaving in a hurry, dressed rather elegantly for just a trip to the market. Yumi kept her distance as she followed her through the bustling streets of Seoul to a discreet cafe in the Itaewon neighborhood. From afar, she saw Miho arrive and greet Suk with an affectionate hug. The pain was immediate, but Yumi stayed hidden, trying to hear what they were saying. Despite the noise around, she caught fragments of the conversation. "I miss you too," said Suk, holding his hand. "We need to be more careful. Yumi must not suspect," Miho added. It was the confirmation she feared. Devastated, Yumi returned home without being seen. Shock and betrayal mingled in her mind. How could she face both of them? How could she expose the betrayal without destroying her own family? As these questions swirled in her mind, a dark idea began to take shape. Had they been together since before the wedding? Had her mother planned it all from the start? Overcome by pain and confusion, Yumi took a deep breath and thought of a plan. She couldn't act impulsively and lose control of the situation. She needed to be smart. She needed to know more. She decided to start recording her husband and mother's conversations, gathering evidence to confront both without leaving room for lies. Little did Yumi know that by making this decision, she was entering a dangerous game of secrets and betrayals that could change her life forever. After days of isolation, Yumi knew she couldn't go on like that. The emptiness and pain were consuming her sanity, and she needed to react before the situation completely destroyed her. She decided that she had to confront Miho and Suk, but in a way that would catch them off guard. She needed to make sure there would be no doubt about the betrayal. While planning her next steps, Yumi received an unexpected message from Jisoo. "Hey, I'm worried about you. Shall we grab a coffee?" At first, she thought about declining, but maybe venting to someone not directly involved would help clear her mind. She accepted the invitation, and hours later, she met Jisoo at a discreet cafe. As she stirred her tea without much enthusiasm, Jisoo noticed that Yumi was on the verge of collapse.
Unable to hold back the pain any longer, she began to speak, her words pouring out in a desperate outburst.
I found out that Miho is cheating on me. With my mother. Jisoo was stunned, unsure of how to react. Instead of judging her, he held her hand and reassured her that she was not alone. Yumi felt a momentary relief for finally sharing the secret. After the meeting, Yumi felt a bit stronger. She returned home determined to find out more. She reviewed the recordings and found an audio clip that made her heart race. Miho was talking on the phone with Suk. We need to resolve this soon. She's getting suspicious. I can't keep up this charade. Yumi paused the recording and tried to process what she had just heard. Charade? What was he talking about? With a racing heart, Yumi decided it was time to confront them. She arranged a dinner with Miho and also invited her mother, claiming she wanted to spend some family time. During the meal, while the two tried to act normal, Yumi remained silent, observing. At one point, she looked Miho in the eyes and asked directly, Are you cheating on me with my mother? The shock on both their faces was evident. Suk tried to laugh nervously, saying that Yumi was imagining things. Miho turned pale and stammered something about Yumi being stressed. But the young woman didn't back down. She took her phone out of her pocket and pressed play on the recording, letting the incriminating words echo through the room. The ensuing silence was deafening. Desperate, Miho started to justify himself. It's not what it seems. I was just trying to help your mother. She was going through some problems and asked for my support. Suk, trying to maintain her composure, added, Yumi, sometimes you imagine things. We're worried about your well-being. Yumi felt her anger rising within her. How could they act as if she was the crazy one? Before she could respond, Jisoo entered the apartment without warning, carrying an envelope. Sorry for the intrusion, but you need to see this. Yumi opened the envelope and found photos of Miho and Suk together at a hotel. The images spoke for themselves. With no more excuses, Miho collapsed onto the sofa while Suk cried silently. Yumi finally found the strength to say what she felt. I trusted you both. How could you do this to me? Miho tried to approach her, but Jisoo stopped him, standing by Yumi's side like a silent protector. With tears in her eyes, Yumi realized that this was the end. There was no turning back. She grabbed her car keys and drove aimlessly, trying to escape the pain that suffocated her chest. She drove to the riverbank and stood there, watching the waters reflect the city lights. The tears finally came with force, releasing all the anguish she had been holding back. For a moment, she felt lighter for facing the truth, but the emptiness was still profound. As the cold wind blew, Jisoo appeared by her side, having followed her to make sure she was safe. Without saying anything, he wrapped her in a sincere hug, allowing Yumi to cry freely. In that moment, she knew that despite everything, she was not completely alone. In the days that followed, Yumi tried to rebuild her routine. The pain was still intense, but Jisoo's support was essential for her to find the strength to move on. She decided she needed to face the situation with more maturity and clarity, even though her heart was still shattered. Miho and Suk, on the other hand, tried to make contact several times. Miho sent regretful messages, while Suk called constantly, asking to talk. Yumi ignored all attempts. She needed time and space to reorganize her feelings and understand why the people she loved so much had been capable of betraying her that way. One quiet morning, Yumi received an unexpected letter. It was from Suk, handwritten. The letter began with apologies, but soon the truth started to emerge. Suk revealed that Miho had approached her during a vulnerable moment. She explained that months ago, she went through a personal crisis that left her extremely fragile. Miho, noticing this, began visiting her under the pretext of offering help. Over time, the meetings became more frequent, and they eventually got emotionally involved. Yumi felt the ground shake as she read each word. Suk's justifications did not lessen the pain, but at least they gave some context to the betrayal. Still, she couldn't forgive. How could her own mother have allowed this to happen? Didn't she think about the consequences for her daughter? Before she could finish reading the letter, her phone rang. It was Jisoo, insisting they meet at the park. Yumi agreed, though her heart felt heavy. At the park, Jisoo was waiting with a concerned look. They sat on a secluded bench, and Yumi showed him the letter. Jisoo read in silence, his expression shifting between indignation and sadness. After a long silence, Jisoo suggested that it might be time for Yumi to confront her mother in a calmer and more direct way. Even if she couldn't forgive, she needed to hear Suk's version in person to put an end to the story. Reluctantly, Yumi agreed. That afternoon, Yumi went to her mother's house. The way there seemed endless, and her heart raced unevenly. When Suk opened the door, she was surprised to see her daughter. Yumi entered without being invited and sat in the living room, waiting for Suk to speak first. Suk began to cry, trying to justify herself. She talked about the loneliness she felt and how Miho became an unexpected support. She said she never planned for things to get out of control but ended up falling in love. Yumi remained silent, trying to absorb those words without breaking down again. Suddenly, Miho appeared at Suk's house, unaware that Yumi was there. Upon seeing her, he froze. Suk tried to calm him, but Yumi stood up and for the first time spoke firmly. "You two destroyed my trust. My life turned into chaos because of your betrayal.
No matter the reason, nothing justifies what you did."
Miho tried to argue, but Yumi interrupted. "It's over. I don't want to hear any more excuses. I'm going to move on with my life, and I hope you both do the same, far away from me." Without giving them a chance to say anything else, Yumi left the house, feeling a lightness she hadn't felt in weeks. She walked aimlessly through the streets, reflecting on everything she had been through. It was painful, but she finally felt like she was regaining control of her own life. That night, back at the apartment, Yumi found a message from Jisoo. "I'm here if you need anything." She smiled for the first time in a long time. Maybe life was giving her a new chance to rebuild her happiness. The days following the confrontation were filled with reflection for Yumi. She knew she couldn't just erase the pain she felt, but she needed to find a way to rebuild her life. The betrayal had left deep scars, but it also made her realize how strong she was for facing it all with her head held high. Jisoo remained by her side, a constant and comforting presence. Gradually, Yumi began to open up to him in a different way. She realized that the care and support he offered went beyond friendship. There was a genuine concern and a desire to see her happy that she had never experienced with Miho. One late afternoon, while walking through the park, Jisoo finally broke the silence. "You deserve to be happy, Yumi. I know you've been through a lot, but I don't want you to give up on love because of what happened." Yumi looked at him surprised. For the first time, she saw Jisoo as more than just a protective friend. Her wounded heart began to beat faster. Their meetings became more frequent and more intimate. Jisoo made sure to respect Yumi's pace but didn't hide his desire to be by her side. Slowly, Yumi allowed herself to feel something new, even though insecurity insisted on appearing. During one of those encounters, as they watched the sunset over the Han River, Jisoo held her hand and confessed, "I've always liked you, but I never had the courage to say it. I didn't want you to see me as someone taking advantage. I just want you to know that I'm here, no matter what you decide." Yumi smiled, feeling tears well up in her eyes. Perhaps for the first time in months, she felt truly loved. Without saying a word, she moved closer to Jisoo and kissed him gently, sealing a new beginning. From that day on, things changed. Yumi began to see new possibilities, both personally and professionally. She decided to dedicate more time to work, seeking courses to help her grow in her career. Jisoo was always around, encouraging and celebrating each small achievement. As for Miho and Suk, silence prevailed. Yumi didn't look for them, and neither of them tried to reconnect. Yumi knew that forgiveness was an internal process, but that didn't mean she had to live with those who hurt her. Her life needed to move forward. One day, while walking with Jisoo through a traditional market, Yumi ran into an old friend, Hana. Seeing the two together, Hana smiled and commented, "You look different, Yumi. You seem lighter." That made Yumi reflect. Was she finally allowing herself to be happy again? Time passed, and Yumi felt her life getting back on track. One day, Jisoo surprised her with an invitation for a short trip to a mountain village. They wanted to escape the routine and enjoy some time away from the city's hustle and bustle. During the trip, while walking along a trail, Jisoo suddenly stopped and looked into Yumi's eyes. "I want to be by your side through every moment. Can I have that chance?" Moved, Yumi realized she was no longer afraid to take a risk. She accepted his proposal with a smile, knowing she was ready to live a new chapter. Love, despite so many blows, found a way to blossom again. Back in Seoul, Yumi felt at peace. She knew there would still be tough days, but she also knew she would no longer face anything alone. She learned that loving herself was the first step to accepting someone else's love. In the final scene, Yumi and Jisoo are at the same park where they had met so many times to share their burdens. Now, however, they smile together, exchanging carefree affection. The cycle of pain had finally closed, giving way to a new beginning full of hope. Life sometimes knocks us down in unimaginable ways, but it's up to us to decide whether to stay on the ground or get up and keep walking. Yumi chose to rise and found a new purpose for her journey. Sometimes, the people who hurt us the most are the ones we love the most, but that doesn't mean love has stopped existing. It just changed shape, direction. Learning to forgive and allowing herself to love again was Yumi's greatest triumph. And you? Have you ever had to reinvent yourself after a major disappointment? Share your story in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, as many watch but don't subscribe. Turn on notifications to receive more inspiring stories like this one.